Hello, everyone. I welcome you to another learning workshop. This one is also part of our focus series. And in our workshop today, we will learn the power of intentional pause and how, through this, we can achieve focus and cultivate mindful responses. Friends, oftentimes you will find that at workspace, we land into tricky situations where our emotions run high. And when our emotions run high, our instinct is to often react to it impulsively. So we tend to get into reactions which can often lead us to regret or can land us in trouble. Through these three tools that I'm about to teach you, they will help you to learn to respond rather than react so that you not only stay focused but equally mindful. So let's get started learning. The three key tools here we would be learning today will be intentional pause, breath work, and mindful speech. The first tool, intentional pause. Now, this one, friends, is very simple yet very, very effective. If you ever find yourself into situations where, at workspace, where you either have that difficult, crucial email to be sent, or into a difficult conversation, or in a very tricky situation, an intentional pause can help you get hold of yourself and give you that space that you actually need to give your best response to the external situation that evokes and seeks a response from you. But how you give that, how you respond to it, entirely depends on how much of self control you have. Now, most of us may not really be so aware and mindful that when we are when we land ourselves into some very tricky and complex situations, we might not really remember, regardless of how much we may learn. So, this one simple technique of intentional pause, where all you're doing is giving yourself that pause, where you step back, reflect, and realign your response with your intentions. So when you pause for that moment, you give yourself the gift of clarity. And instead of reacting impulsively, something that you might regret later, you are creating a space to process your emotions and thoughts. So this practice might sound very, very simple, but it's very powerful. So the more you welcome and the more you practice and imbibe this intentional pause in your life, you will be amazed by the way it will be supporting you, helping you, assisting you from reactions that something you would regret, or even that it might land you in some issues or in some problems. So you'll be proud of yourself, and you will be thankful to your own self for bringing this beautiful practice into your life. So if you are like me, because I have been greatly benefited with this when I started to imbibe it, and it's now a full-time part of my daily life, where I take that intentional pause that helps me craft a response that is thoughtful, constructive, and in line with what I intend to say. Our next tool is a little in sync with this, but it's about while we take that intentional pause, here we are making use of our breath. So our second tool in line is the breath work. So back again, if you want Like when you are implementing that intentional pause, one addition that you could do there is to involve your breath into it. Now, this is very, very helpful, especially when you are into situations where you're very, very emotionally hijacked. So it may not be quite useful when it is about just the intentional pause, but in situations where your emotions are really high and you're going through a very complex set of emotions inside you, and you don't really are very certain of what should be the best response in a given situation that you are in. Here's where breath work can really help you. It can help you both your physical body and also your mind. So let's just spend a minute understanding how breath can, uh, what actually it does. So in your intentional pause, when you bring in that breath work, what you're doing here is you take that pause, but in that pause, you also take a deep breath, just one deep breath. You can do more or you can do less, but one is good enough for you to uh, take that intentional pause. This one intentional deep breath, just one of it, will activate the parasympathetic nervous system inside your body. Now, with this activation of parasympathetic nervous system, we are signaling our mind, because we have a deep connection of body and mind. And the moment you take that deep inhale and a longer exhale, it brings down your cortisol levels, it improves the oxygen flow to your brain, it enhances your focus, and also it helps you process your emotion more mindfully, reducing the likelihood of emotional outburst. So just one deep breath can completely be a game changer and will shift your state. So the tool one, that was intentional pause. Along with that, if you just add a breath, like one deep inhale and exhale, you can do more, but just one is what you can start to practice in. You will find that your internal state is immediately shifted. And with that shift, because breath is a state shifter, it's like a personal reset button. And in challenging circumstances, this one breath or few deep breaths can just ground us in the present moment, creating that mental space we need to choose a more thoughtful response. And then it also allows us to shift the way we are about to react. So just practice this if in case you find yourself in a difficult conversation as well, or in a difficult situation where you might use the tool one, which is an intentional pause, or to that pause you add this one deep breath. And you see and observe that it automatically shift your internal state. And the moment this shift take place, you will, in almost all likelihood, 99%, will not really respond the way you actually thought you would just a few seconds ago. So just use this God gifted gift of breath, and along with that intentional pause, and excel in life. The final tool I have here is this Rumi technique. I already have a separate podcast on this, but I thought let me include this as well in this, because this is another very simple yet very effective tool that can help us be in control of our responses and be a mindful speaker. So if you are into your workspace where sometimes we have a difficult colleague, a difficult boss, or a difficult client, regardless of our conversations, which are tough, tricky, and difficult, this technique, this Rumi technique, is a timeless wisdom that we can use. It is simple. It is a filter of three questions, which are acting as filters. And before we respond, if we put our responses through this filter in our mind, not that we are going to do it on right before the person, but in our mind, and pause to ask ourselves whatever we are about to say, convey, or about react, just the intentional pause with a deep breath and asking this question will completely change the trajectory of your communication. So these are just three simple questions. Is it necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? This technique is one of the very powerful communication technique. And since we usually do get carried away in very emotional, heavy conversations and situations, and later on we find that we shouldn't have had said this or have had reacted this way, these three tools can be our best support in being a more mindful speaker, and also being more focused and intentional of what we say. So practice this, friends. This is something that is best achieved and attained through practice. So the next time you feel the urge to react, pause, take three deep breaths, let the breath be your guide, help you get back to a balanced state. And then as you exhale, reflect, recall this Rumi three questions technique, allowing you to shape your response. This combination of breath and mindful questioning empowers you to navigate tricky situations with grace, avoiding unnecessary conflict, and fostering healthy interactions. Thank you.